Where do I think Genshin Impact is heading in the next few years of the game? I want to do a deep dive on the game itself. Talk about everything from how I feel about it, what could be improved, where it's at, why do I think the game is a failure compared to other games, and even discussions and debates that I had with some of my friends about the game. So before I jump into it, let me go ahead and say, welcome everyone, this is Lo-Fi Nole. If you like the content, then feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. You know, the usual thing that everyone says on the channel. With any further ado, let's get started. I think the first thing that I want to talk about is what actually makes Genshin Impact so loved and so enjoyable to a variety of different people. I think, in all honesty, the scenery, the characters, and maybe the story is what really pulls in a lot of people to actually love and enjoy the game. I think one of the big factors to Genshin Impact is the scenery itself. And I think for the most part, I think that's what really pulled in a lot of people, and not just the scenery, but just fundamentally how the game looked. In all honesty, the game looked like an anime slash cartoonish and had a very flashy style to it, and plus with how the over map and the overworld looked, that pulled in a lot of people, whether you're young, in your teenager age, or even adult. This game was very flashy, and it made it really enjoyable to just fall in love with just looking at the game itself. Now that I'm thinking about it, I remember when Inazuma was first dropped, and like everyone was really excited at the fact that we finally got a new map that was a different color, because Mondstadt and Liyue was kind of the same type of color. We did have the snowy area, but really deep down people was looking for like a brand new starter area, and when Inazuma dropped, it changed fundamentally with how things look. And again, that just goes to show how much scenery really played a factor for a lot of Genshin players. And because of this, I think that was one of the main factors to why people liked the game, but it wasn't the overall determination of I'm playing this because of this. I want to also add that I don't know if I'm really going to be adding the Dandro area in here yet. I know I'm making this the day of the Dandro and the release of all that stuff, but hey, if it's in there, it's in there. The next thing I want to talk about is the story, and I'm just going to be real. I don't know what even is going on with the story. I don't really care to pay attention that much. In all honesty, it's hard to really enjoy it in my eyes because we have to wait so long for the next thing to come out or the next story to come out, because everything revolves around a month update or waiting a month in order to get anything really. So I get it that yes, we have like subquests and character development with their own little story quests, but all in all, like even then, some of the story revolves around you actually getting to know the character. So it's really jumble jangled in all honesty, and to be fair, I don't understand when someone really says, oh, I love the game because of the story. The story is really good. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. I have to sit down and watch a video to really understand what's really going on. And not just that, there's no way to rewatch any of the cutscenes for the story or to relive any part of it. So I think it would be a good addition if they would add a way for us to rewatch the cutscenes or the story to maybe get like a better way of understanding it, or maybe if you just want to turn around and watch it again. Now, with me saying this, do I think the story is just fundamentally like garbage and bad? No. But is it good at the same time? No. It's kind of, I want to say it's below average or right there at average, in all honesty. And I have to point this out because at the end of the day, this game is number one, a gacha, and second of all, a role-playing game or story-based really. Because let's be real, multiplayer or playing with your friends is not really that prevalent, and it's not even that big of a thing to do. The only time you will ever be in your friend's world is to just steal from them or farm something and go about your day. The game can be literally be played and be done by yourself, doing everything by yourself. And while I'm on this topic about the multiplayer aspect of Genshin, they could do so much more with this. I think there was only one event that really showed, no, I think two events that really showed like what they could do with making us play with people or join people. The dumb little party game moment when we're riding on a little boat, or when we had to fight all those enemies in a group, even though really deep down you could do it by yourself still. Like, they could have added more to it or thought of it a better way. And sadly, there's just no point to doing multiplayer. The multiplayer is kind of buggy majority of the time. Enemies are either too high or too low depending on if you build your characters out or not. There's no incentive. You don't gain anything. You don't gain any rewards. I just don't see the point. They could at least make, I don't know, a commission or something along the lines of, if you just stay in your friend's world for about like 5 minutes, 10 seconds, whatever case may be, maybe you'll gain like, I don't know, 5 Primo Gems or 2. But I'm actually want to speak on the Primo Gem aspect, or really the reward system with the game, but just something along those lines. The next thing I want to talk about is the reward system. Now, I would say at first, the game felt it was in the right state. You know, we was awarded a nice amount of stuff when we first started, as well as when you're in the mid AR 10 to 30, maybe really all the way up to like 45. But once you get to 50 and 55, things slowly change, especially when it comes down to leveling, when it comes down to getting Primo Gems, books, mores, you name it. I think the only thing that does not suck when it comes down to farming for is the books for people's talents. But even then, you can still make the argument for it needing to be changed. And what I mean is, we're not rewarded enough. Whether it's an event or just simply exploring the dang game, you're not given enough. I never in my life will never understand the point of exploring the world, and the game is really about exploring the world, doing the gacha, and having fun in this fantasy area, if I'm not getting rewarded enough for even finding a chest. Like, I remember when I was like AR 45 or 40 or 30, whatever case may be, and I was rewarded like 20, 30, 50 Primo Gems, you know? But now I'm like, every chest I touch, it's only like 2 and 5. That doesn't make me want to go find more chests. That makes me not want to explore. That makes me just want to skip it all together. I might as well turn off the game and go play something else. Even the books. When you leveling up a character in the purple books, why in the world do we still have it where we can't upgrade the books or turn around and gain more of them? I do like how we get double books when we come down to events, but overall, even still, it's just not enough. We don't have that on a daily basis, for one, and two, the events is the only time you really get a lot of books, but realistically, you still don't get enough depending on what event that we get. Even for other things, your moras, your Primo Gems, all of this could be increased. The only thing that does not need to be increased is your crown. You're still not getting a whole lot, regardless of whether you're doing events, whether you're exploration, or just simply finding chests. I just don't understand that. It takes so much to level up one character. And if I remember correctly, that takes about 5 million mora. If you're trying to make him 0 to 90, plus 10, 10, 10 on all talents. What's even more stupid, it takes about 415 purple books in order to make a character from 0 to 90, and we only get rewarded 5 to 9 books every single time. I'm just so confused by that. Now let me talk about the Primo Gems. I still don't understand why it only takes 160 to summon, but we only get rewarded about 10 Primo Gems for our commission, 20 for doing all our commissions, and that's it. That is literally it. I have no words for that. I'm so bamboozled by the fact that that works like that. Because in all honesty, that can be improved. If that's too much to do, at least increase the amount of books and more that we can get. The leveling materials that we need for certain characters. Increase that. Because I'm gonna be frank, not everyone is sitting around with buttloads of books. Not everyone and their mother loves to sit around and just farm books. And we can't even take the smaller books and make them purple for some odd reason. That's another thing that I still don't understand, and most gacha games do this. Most gacha games makes it to where that you can take smaller materials that you use for leveling up a certain character and combine it with something else to make it a bigger one or make it a higher tier one. What is that so hard to implement? It's a gacha game. This ain't brand new. This is not like a different type of game in general. No, it's a gacha game. There are certain things that you can literally add that almost every gacha game fundamentally has. I don't understand that point. I really don't. I really don't. I feel as though I'm not asking too much. I just think they could at least add more rewards. Just a little bit more. Give us a bit back. Because in all honesty, it's just a chore. I just don't feel as though I'm getting rewarded enough. And I'm a person who sat down and literally leveled up every single character that I wanted, from Mondstadt, Liyue, and Inazuma. Level up their weapons, their talents, every single thing to I feel as though is the best of their abilities that I think. And even then, after doing all that, I was like, man, I really feel bad for any new player that wants to do the same thing that I did, because it's not it. It's insane. It's insane how much that takes, and we're not getting more increased rewards for doing this. Rewards can be increased 1,000% more. Even farming like certain things that you need, like boss materials, for an example, that right there needs to either have like a better way for us to farm it, or simply just get rid of the 1 week rule, because it's a lot. It's just a headache. It's just a headache to do this. It's a chore in all honesty. Now, with me saying that we're not getting rewarded enough whenever we play the game, whether we're farming books, mores, whatever case it may be, the next thing you probably start looking at is, well, what if they increase the residence? You know, this is a gacha game. You know, gacha games all have some type of system where you're given a currency that you can do, that you can pass the time and do in the game. And once you run out, then that pretty much end of you playing the gacha. Well, I think in all honesty, even if they do increase the residents, which sadly a lot of people has been saying they want to increase resident, or they'll say, hey, they need to increase the time for when the resident comes back, it still won't fix the problem that the game has, which is the rewarding system in general. I think in all honesty, they can keep it at 160 and keep the same time for how long it takes for it to come back, but increase the reward. Or keep the reward system the same, but give us a more better, consistent way of earning residents without having to spend the primal gems that we get. That's not even a whole lot. It feels more incentive to actually use your primal gems, and your primal gems are used for summoning the characters because it's all about gacha. But you would rather have to use it on resident in order to keep playing the game, or to get a certain amount that you need of items. I just don't know what to really say on this, other than they really have only just two options, because it's not enough. It's just not enough. The only way you can say that it's enough is by hoarding. But for a new player, even a casual player, it would take forever for them to even get enough to level up 1 to 2 or 3 characters, unless they're making sure to always come back when events come around. And with that being said, I'm going to segue into events now. I think Genshin does really good on their events. I think they're really cool, they're really nice, they're change of life, all this stuff. It's always good. We get rewards, mora, and books, which we heavily need more than anything. But there's no other like in-game or anything else to do once they're gone. Most people feel as though it's better to stall it out. Like I've been sitting here not even doing a lot of my Dendro stuff because I'm literally just stalling out the game so I have stuff to do. And also, I don't want to deal with the big hype of how Dendro is at this moment. I kind of want to wait until everything dies down. Everyone feels as though, you know, I'm bored now. But to go back to events, they're only good for just getting the materials, and that's really it. They have really awesome events that they could have kept, in all honesty. They really could have. But instead, they want to get rid of it because of some odd reason. There's a lot of events that they could have just kept. Now, granted, it's a gacha game, and most events do a rotation, and they get replaced, get put in new ones, or they have updates and they change. I get that. But even still, there's nothing else here other than just story, the open world, and that's it. And we're still just sitting around waiting. So they could at least leave about 1 to 2 events around to redo and make that somewhat in-game stuff or something to do at least. They can give us minimal reward. Genshin, really more about like how do you feel about it. I got a few questions for you to really answer. We're gonna go through and you're gonna really say your opinions about them, and pretty much just be honest. That's all I ask. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
So
I never not been honest.
Okay. So my first question to you is, what do you like about Genshin so far, and why do you always come back to it, or why does it keep you playing it per se?
I'd say the things I like the most about Genshin so far is gonna have to be the plot story and finding out more about the characters, like their attacks, or even some of the more, like, I guess, more grindy parts of Genshin itself, whether it's playing in tandem with friends or going on artifact hunts together or playing co-op in domains. That sort of a deal.
Okay, so it seems like you really enjoy, like, actually you're the first one who has really said they like the story that I'm hearing, and also like co-op. That's another weird one too. Like, you're really surprising me so far with like that. But so whenever you play those gacha games, so if you can remember, what did you like about them, and what do you think they do good that's kind of better than Genshin? And to compare Genshin to that gacha game in that sort of playing field, do you think is really doing their job? Like, what I'm saying is, like, when you're playing that game, do you feel like the creators of the game is caring about their game, is they're not scamming you per se, or is they're doing a good job? It's kind of hard to explain it, but do you see where I'm trying to go here? I can explain it a little bit more. If okay.
No, I think I understand what you're trying to say.
Okay.
And I'd say that, for example, if I go into Honkai Impact, which is of course created by the same people, but you will find a lot of differences between how the games are played, how everything's carried out, even the hype about the game for the most part. Because if you'll find, in comparison to Genshin and Honkai, Genshin's more at the forefront right now and has a lot more media coverage, has a lot more newspaper articles and such. I'd say there's a lot more care going into Genshin than there is for Honkai at this current moment in time. As Honkai is really good, but in terms of publicity and clout, Genshin got Honkai beat. In terms of what I like more, I'm gonna say I prefer Honkai's gacha system as opposed to Genshin's, just because it's a lot easier to accumulate the in-game currency needed to obtain the characters, as opposed to it is for Genshin, as well as you don't need to, for example, if you're a whale player, you don't need to drop as much money to get the in-game currency to use to spend for the characters in Honkai, I'd say.
Okay.
For example, commissions. If you bring up commissions, in Genshin, you have 4 commissions that are roughly, I'm gonna average out to 10 primo jumps a piece, but there's not enough for a pull.
Right.
There's not enough for even a single one pull.
Right.
Which is something that's unfortunate. However, if you look at Honkai on the other side, there might not necessarily be enough for one pull, but you can always, there's at least options to trade, or, for example, the Armada, where you're able to not necessarily have to pull to get what you need from there. Yeah. You're able to ask other co-op players, which is something that Genshin doesn't have. It's not a feature in that game.
And not just that, the other quest that's in the game, and other content that gives you better rewards or gives you a little bit more the currency that you use to summon, it just gives a lot more, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might have like a few commissions or bounties that you do to give you the currency you need to summon, but overall there's so many different things, and I want to say I count that as like an in-game content. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have nothing else to do, you used all your stamina. There are things in Honkai that you can literally go do without having stamina, and not just that. Like there's even a commission that gives you stamina, or a commission or bounties, just to make sure everyone understands what I'm saying here. Stuff to do that gives you stamina back to then turn around and keep playing more. So I see what you're going. I see where you're going with that. I want to just add that. Yeah. So I want to say thank you again to my friend that joined. She pretty much was playing Genshin for a good while, and I think she still plays it to this day. Maybe not a whole lot, but she does play it. And I have other people as well that I talked to and had discussions with, and I really just wanted to share that discussion. Sadly though, I won't be able to put in like everything from the discussion because it's a very long one, but this is something that I did want to do with my videos. We'll just have discussions about video games and talk about them. You know, discuss about how we could fix it, what could be the problem, and just go at it in a more healthy way than opposed of just screeching about something or simply just hating on it just to hate on it. But other than that, let's get back to the video. The next thing I want to talk about is the characters. I think, and honestly, Genshin has made really, really good characters. They're very unique in my eyes, and I find it really enjoyable playing the characters, whether they're 4-star or 5-star. Heck, I play a lot more 4 stars than I do 5 stars. I have like 2 of them that are my favorite, which are 4, and 1 that's 5. But to be honest, there's a lot of characters that needs to be fixed, that needs rework, that just need like a few tweaks. In all honesty, and it will be 10 times better for them. Aside from them taking like culture stuff and then putting in the game and not representing the color and all that, aside from that, characters need to be fixed. In all honesty, they need rework, they need change, all of that. To go ahead and say my piece on the culture stuff and everything that was going on, I already made a video on it, and I'm gonna say this again. I only think if they're gonna take a culture, they should at least try to represent the race that's there. But if you're just making a character just to make the character, and they don't really have like anything to do with the culture, then it doesn't matter what race they are. People care about diversity. That's the biggest thing that we have going on, whether you want to believe this or not. Almost every movie, almost every game, almost every TV series, etc., 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 etc. Diversity plays a huge factor, and it's why a lot of people, I can see why a lot of people felt some type of way with how Dendro was handled. But that's a side note. Going back to the characters and everything, there was literally a person who made a video explaining little fixes that every character could have to make them 10 times better. And I want to link this in here. And shout outs to him, because in all honesty, like, it was really small stuff, really small, that they could have easily just added and it'll be better. So I just don't understand how they couldn't do this. It's not that hard. It's very easy. Now I want to talk about the community aspect. I would say the online Genshin community is out of pocket for a lot of things. I think when we talked about, I think the most dumbest thing that ever happened for a game is to lower it in the app system, thinking that was going to fix our problems. At the same time, we also got dumb people on Twitter running around and saying the most dumbest things on Genshin Impact, and they haven't played a slick or an ounce of the game whatsoever. I think under all of that, there are some people out there that are genuinely trying to give good feedback on the game and to make it better and to benefit it at the same time. On one hand, we got the community saying that nothing's wrong with the game, you know, it's the best thing in the world, just go play another game if you feel as though it's not really supposed to live up to what you think, etc., etc., etc. And on the other hand, you got people like me who just genuinely want to give like good criticism, good feedback, not really yelling at the game. I'm not really like screaming on top of my lungs for this, but I'm just giving out good ideas and giving my feedback on the game, because I feel as though the surveys that we get in Genshin don't really do much anyway. At this point, I kind of stopped doing them because they got them in the game, but it just doesn't feel like there's nothing in pertaining that's going to show that they actually read those. I don't know, man. I just wish that with the community aspect, we'll have less nut riders and more people who can think for themselves instead of just going with the flow. And I granted, you know, with people that watch YouTube videos or have a favorite Twitch streamer and all this other stuff, most of the time people will agree with what they hear. Okay, they will follow and be a sheep. I get it. A lot of people don't like to be a leader. A lot of people like to be followers, or like to go with the flow. I get that. But to a certain degree, you know, if you've been playing the game long enough and have at least thought about it once, it's not that hard to really see a lot of things that could be improved and changed. Heck, that's with any game, really. But it's just a lot more people saying this game is fine, there's nothing wrong, instead of just being honest with yourself and being like, okay, they could have fixed a few things, they could add a few things. And generally, I feel as though at the end of the day, if we all could band together and at least get on the same bandwagon and to adding in-game to the game, it will do a lot better than what it is right now. And increasing the rewards a little bit is all I ask for, in all honesty, with this game. If they do that, heck, I'll sit back and not really complain too much, because genuinely that's what I really want. Every time I think about Genshin and I play it and I see all the backlash and the dumb people whining and crying over Twitter over some dumb stuff, I genuinely just think about, hey, they could do this or do that, fix a little few things and go about their business. And that's really it. My last final thoughts. I would say, in all honesty, even though I feel this type of way to the game and I think they could do a lot more, I still enjoy it. The reason why, because I look at it as a gacha game at the end of the day, and it's not really a good one, but it's decent, and I like the characters. That's honestly is what's selling me to keep playing the game and enjoying just seeing what 4 stars and 5 star we're getting and what I have to do for it, in all honesty. And I think once the story ends for this game, or we get to the final act of the game, I think Genshin Impact will not last out if they keep the same thing that we have right now. I think the game is very enjoyable for newcomers and in-game players, but not so much. But would I ever really recommend Genshin Impact to a newcomer? Probably not, especially if they also keep the same things with leveling up your characters and you're having to do the different areas in order to work on certain characters, because I didn't even talk about that. I forgot to talk about that. But to say my point about that real quick, if they don't implement something to where newcomers can still get the materials or get things for their character that like in Azuma or in the Dendro area or in the next few areas, and they starting from like Mondstadt or Luwei, you know, it's gonna be a while before they can even touch the character that they summon. So I don't know, it's just right now at this point I don't recommend it. I only really recommend it to a person if they just really like gacha games. And I don't really think that they're gonna add anything of the stuff that I was saying or other YouTubers or other Twitch streamers that have pointed out about the game, especially if we're talking about the events or in-game wise, because they can always just go back to saying we're trying to make sure that the mobile players have enough space on their fan. To be honest, I wish there was a statistic on how many people are actually playing mobile, console, and PC, because I don't really believe there's a lot of mobile players, but I could be wrong, and I want to be wrong on that. But right now, there's the only thing that you can really look up is the statistics of how many people are playing Genshin Impact. And with all of this being said, do I hate the game? No. I find it still enjoyable, and I find it enjoyable because of the character, because of the new 5-star, 4 stars, and how they look, their style, their weapon, their abilities. That's what I fell in love with. And that's how most people are going to fall in love with it, because again, it's a gacha game. And that's the only thing that I truly care about. I don't too much care for the story or anything else but the character. But other than that, that's the end of my rant on my final statement with the game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you made it this far, then thank you. Appreciate you to listen all the way through and hear me out. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one.